Hi, I'm Tracy Pierce. Thanks for joining me for this Live with the Animal series. We're just getting over a few technical difficulties here on my side, but hopefully everything is working and ready to go. So this Live with the Animals video series really started from what was happening here in the United States in March of 2020. Ta-da, here's the coronavirus. Here's a bunch of lockdown measures, quarantine, shelter-in-place orders. And I just became really curious about what the animals thought about all of this. And as I was thinking about this, the animals kept sending me these messages, and it was multiple animals like, Tracy, you need to do this live streaming video series. And so I decided to do it. And here we are several months later. I'm still having a lot of animals show up, and I'm going to keep doing this as long as the animals keep showing up saying they have something to share. So today, our guest animal is a little beetle. Let me pull up his picture here. Okay, so this little beetle came scurrying out from under my closet door, and at first I thought it was a cockroach, and I kind of freaked out, and managed to scoop him up in a piece of paper and escort him outside. But I did feel like it was appropriate to take a picture, and this little beetle had something to tell us. So unfortunately, it's not a 100% clear photo, but I think we'll be able to connect with this beetle anyway. All right, so if you're joining me live on Facebook, if you have questions for this beetle, type them into the comments. And if you're joining me live on Zoom, go ahead and type your questions into the chat. And I'm just going to go ahead and get quiet and start tuning into this little beetle friend and see what it might have to share with us today. So the first thing it shows me is how quickly it can move. So when I saw it come out from the closet, it was moving very quickly, and it's saying that is one thing it has in common with cockroaches is it's like a little scuttle, quick little movement thing that they're able to do that helps them evade predators such as myself, I guess you could say. So I wonder what else you might like to tell us about you or your species. Really, this is an open forum for you to share whatever you would like with us. So what it's showing me is there's a lot of wisdom in knowing when it's time to move quickly, like it shows its little legs moving again, and knowing when the time is right to run away or scuttle away from a situation, versus it's also showing itself kind of like hiding in a dark corner, like being kind of tucked away and being very still and motionless. This is one of the things I have to be aware of really on a daily basis. There's a lot of coming and going between these very quick movements and slower, still movements in my own life. Okay. So it's directing me, it's showing me its body, which it, like it's, I think the proper word would be exoskeleton, like the shell kind of parts of itself. And it's showing me how, so it's showing like a drop of rain falling on its back and washing off. And then it shows like getting smashed by a foot or getting smashed by something. So it's showing like we all have, it's saying we all have this armor that we wear and carry to protect ourselves. And some people's armor is thicker than others. And what it's saying is like when you have a really heavy armor, even if it's just, I hear the word imaginary, but you know, like an armor that's in your head that you energetically bring up rather than it being a physical armor that you're wearing. He's saying like the thicker that our armor becomes towards other people or life in general, the heavier it is. He is comparing it to like wearing a heavy metal medieval knight, armor kind of thing. Like, oh, it can just really weigh us down if we let it. So this beetle is pointing to, I do feel like it's sort of an armor. It's a physical armor that I have, but it's not heavy and thick. It's very light, and it allows me to move lightly through life, but it does really protect me from a lot of the dangers in life. Like there's a certain feeling of security that comes from having this light armor that it's wearing. Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your armor or our armor or anything else in that realm? So it says most of us humans go through life and we build up armor. Like as we get older, it's almost like the thicker the armor gets. And the Beatles really encouraging us, like, I get the feeling of like taking this really heavy armor off. I feel it in my body, and it's like, this heaviness is just falling away, and there's sort of this lightness left. Do you have any advice about how, we can let go of the parts of our armor that don't serve us? It feels to me sometimes like the reason we carry that armor around is because we think it's actually protecting us, where maybe it is just weighing us down. Do you have any advice about discernment around that? Yeah, this beetle says, well, that's where it gets a little bit more tricky. It's saying with humans, sometimes he's showing kind of this sticky layer around in our energy that our emotional baggage like kind of sticks to. And he's showing like that layer of stickiness can be really, I feel it really sticky, like it just like sucks, like attaches stuff. So he says it does take a lot of discernment to figure out which parts are ready to let go of. And he keeps showing me like different professionals, like maybe a coach or a qualified psychotherapist or some other kind of energetic healer person. But he's saying even that, finding the right kind of people can take a lot of discernment. And he feels like this is one of the biggest problems with the human race is that we're carrying around so much baggage, and we're not sure which pieces to let go of and which to keep. He then shows like all this energy, static kind of electricity around the head, and saying like people are so in their heads, and so he's showing all these different electric connections going to and from different places. And so like are showing how this energy around our head is rarely still. And because of that, it's hard to have the discernment. Like if you're still in that kind of agitated state and like, oh, what should I let go of? Or like there's just too much to process, and too many confusing, overlapping, crossing connections is what it's showing. Do you have any advice about, I mean, this is certainly something I've had issues with in my life, finding that right person, like a coach or a therapist or something like that to work with? Do you have any advice about finding the right person? So the Beetle starts to draw me into this really still, kind of more silent place. And what it's saying is this is the kind of space that would be best to make decisions from, especially around you know, if you're looking for a therapist or a coach or somebody to help you, um, yeah, it keeps drawing me into this like more silent meditation kind of state, and showing like maybe it's even closing your eyes and tuning into your higher self and asking your higher self about it. But the Beetle says, and again, this really points again to what I just said, is that humans rarely can find the stillness enough to often make good decisions. And so it's showing me sometimes where I made decisions not from a place of stillness, but from a place of like what I thought I should do. And it's like, how'd that work out, Tracy? Like, okay, I think I see what you're saying. Like, it really feels like any kind of decision you're making about somebody you're letting into your life to help you with, you know, doing your process, basically. It takes a lot of stillness to find the right, to really feel. I mean, he's saying like, it's about feeling in your body how that feels. Um, can you show that? So what he's showing is like getting really still. Maybe you have a meditation that you do, or maybe there's some kind of guided meditation that helps you really get into a more silent place. And so then it is like, once you get into that silent place, more holding up your question about, oh, is this the right person for me to be working with? And so the Beetle's showing like it's not just about like deciding which person you're working with, but maybe if you have some sort of major life decision, this Beetle's really encouraging us to take time to make space for stillness and to feel into the decisions from there. Like from that stillness, like if you're asking the question, oh, what would it be like to work with this person? Notice what you're feeling in your body. Like when you even ask that question, how does your physical body react? Like, ooh, do you feel, ooh, you know, feel jolted, like, ooh, maybe that isn't the right person to work with. Whereas you think, oh, what would it be like to work with this person? How does my body feel about it? And if you feel peace and calm in your body, that could be a sign that maybe this is the right person or thing to be doing. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. Especially you showing me some of those decision points where I really made the decision from my mind rather than from a place of stillness. And yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, so I'm checking if there's any questions for our little Beetle friend here. Okay, I'm not seeing any come through right now. So my Beetle friend, do you have anything else that you would like to share with us today? Any other Beetle wisdom that you want to impart to us? I feel like it's saying take care of your arms and your legs. Like it keeps showing moving very quickly. And is that about like strength or something like that? Or so this Beetle is showing me like since I took this picture, it looks what he's showing is he lost one of his back legs. And just showing how much he's like, I'm still doing things, like I'm still able to move, but it makes it much more difficult if you lose one of your legs. And he's like, I feel like it was sort of my own not paying attention as to, you know, why one of my legs got pulled off. And yeah, so he's saying legs and arms are very important. Take good care of them. Okay. Anything else that you would like to share with us today? Oh, we have a question coming in for you now. So how do you feel that we can consciously work to release that heavy armor that you were talking about, but still have a good shield? So I feel like this beetle is showing a little bit of a visualization even. Um, he said this is going to take a lot of conscious awareness, and what he's showing is it's like from moment to moment, depending on whether you're with yourself or you're with somebody else, or maybe then you go to be with a different person. There's a way of watching your own energy to see if you feel if there's an armor coming up. He said it's a really good idea to like compare and contrast how you feel your own armor by yourself versus when you're with somebody. And again, he's showing like this takes a lot of a lot of conscious awareness, because it's something that can happen really, really quickly. Like you're by yourself and then suddenly you're with somebody else, like that armor might come up way faster than you ever realized. Okay, so is there a way you feel like, besides just like really conscious awareness there? He said this is a really kind of advanced um, thing that I'm talking about, because for most people it's hard to be engaged in a conversation or be engaged with someone and notice their own energy field. There's something about human consciousness that is a bit splattered, like he shows our energy kind of going in every direction. And he's saying that we're often just not aware of what our energy is doing. So he's saying, like, for those of us who are meditators, this can be something where in your own meditation, like you get in that space of silence and then just noticing like where you might feel armor. So this is a really interesting thing, because like maybe you'll feel like heavier armor in front of your face or heavier armor in front of your heart. It's kind of like a mapping activity is what the beetle is showing. And so it does really feel like, so it's showing me all different kinds of modalities of healing, like some of the modalities I've been trained in or been experienced in. He's saying I don't really want to name anything specifically because everybody's different, but it has a lot to do with becoming aware of where those different thicknesses of your armor are, and paying attention in everyday life, and then bringing those little pieces that you see and know maybe to some kind of practitioner or meditation or your own spiritual practices. It's like a pulling apart or like a little bit of a deconstruction process is what it's showing. Yeah, the beetle is saying, like, I'm certainly not telling you to just drop your armor altogether, because for most people that's just really scary. And he's showing like we have built this armor around ourselves for a reason, and it's helpful to look at what those reasons are that we've built the armor up, and that's part of what will make it easier to let it go. All right, hopefully that answers your question there. Taking a look for any last questions for our little beetle friend. Any last words of wisdom, beetle friend, for us today? Yeah, it feels like he wants to come back to the armor thing again, and I feel him saying, you know, in so many spiritual traditions, you're encouraged to be vulnerable or let down your armor, and that may or may not be appropriate. It takes a lot of discernment, and so this beetle is saying, yes, ideally, we want to have. It shows like this TV show that I watched where it was like set in the future, and they had these sort of like nanotech bodysuits that had, I mean, it was super thin, but it was this really advanced kind of armor. So the Beetle says it's not that armor isn't important. It would just be more ideal if we could get our protection in a place of being more nanotech and really refined and thin. So we're not carrying around this heavy, you know, metal, old medieval armor suit. And knowing, there's a sense of like knowing, like I'm seeing this bodysuit again, like it's super intelligent and kind of adapts and changes according to like what's happening in the physical body. And saying like, wow, that ideally that's the kind of armor, like high refined kind of armor that eventually is really the kind of armor we would be better off carrying. Huh, okay, that's super interesting. Yeah, because I know, yeah, in my own experience, I've been to spiritual traditions who are like, yeah, just drop all the armor, and then yeah, feeling really vulnerable, and yeah, it's not always the best way to just drop all the armor, but having a more refined sense. That makes sense to me. All right, well, thank you so much, my little Beetle friend, for joining us, and thanks to all of our viewers. I hope to see you again sometime, and until next time, take care and be well.